Hey everybody, Jeff Johnson, Jeff Linder, K.J. Pilcher, and that's in no particular order here for, I guess, a final edition of the Prep Huddle, Prep Football Podcast. This is it. I continue to sing the Kenny Loggins song, but nobody wants to hear that. So, and it's outdated, right? You remember that from the old 70s basketball? They played on CBS or 80s.
NBC. It's Al McGuire, Billy Packer days, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. I think back when Iowa made it to the Final Four, whenever that was, the Ronnie Lester years and all that. So, KJ, heck, you're up. You weren't even born then. So,
back when, if you got to see Iowa basketball on TV 3 times a season, you could count yourself lucky.
Exactly. You had to listen to the radio. The Goose, Ron Geiger.
I was born, but I was very young. I was still playing with cardboard boxes and rocks instead of watching TV. So,
at any rate, we have championship Thursday and Friday this week. So, why don't we just jump right into to the action, guys? I guess we've got it starts bright and early tomorrow morning, right? With 8-player, 9:30 a.m. Easton Valley 12-0, and Cumberland and Nina Messina, otherwise known as Cam, at 12-0. And any predictions? What are your thoughts? I guess on the 8-player game, it's 2 undefeated teams. I think looking both for their first state title, right?
Is it their first championship appearance too for both?
I believe so.
I wasn't sure what is Easton Valley? Is it Preston and Miles or East?
Let's see, Preston and the old East Central, right, Lindy?
East Central. Is either of those programs? Any of those programs make it before?
89 or 90.
Is that right?
I think Class A. They got to a final.
Gotcha. But definitely for Cam, Cam looked really good against Audubon, didn't they?
Yeah. 100%. Easton Valley had a little tougher time in its semifinal, but survived. Remsen St. Mary's. Watched quite a bit of that. That was a pretty good football game, I thought. So, I don't know. I'm picking Cam here. I don't know why. I guess they've been number one in our poll for a long time.
Wire to wire.
Wire to wire. There you go. So
I think the first poll, I don't think anybody had them number one, but everybody had them high enough that they were consensus number one.
Very good.
The one thing that really kind of stands out is numbers wise. I always get attracted to numbers for some reason, but when you look at what those two teams have done, they're very similar this year as far as, Cam putting up about 64.7 points a game, and Easton Valley's at 61.7. Then you look at how much they give up. Cam's at 15.4, Easton Valley at 15.1. So stat-wise, it looks like or numbers-wise, it looks like a game that both teams are really close as far as production. But then you look at who have they played in the tougher schedule, and you kind of have to lean towards Cam there. I would think.
Totally agree.
All right, so we're all picking Cam, which means Easton Valley will be your Class 8-player state champion.
Pictures will be put up on the Easton Valley locker room.
Exactly, as motivation. We just wanted to prove all you naysayers wrong. So nobody gave us a chance. So
Facts.
Right.
Class A, 1:00 on Thursday. Grundy Center 11-1 and West Hancock 12-0. And KJ, you were the one that saw West Hancock up close and personal last week, right? So just do what they do, right? Power football.
It's they have a real strong rush attack, as they always do. That was a game that East Buck was right there with them through the first half. I think it was 7-0 going into the break, and then they just pounded the ball after that. Matt Brantes is a workhorse for them. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. You know what's coming. It was kind of interesting asking Jerry Alden, what was the difference there in the second half? And he said, if you can figure it out, you let me know, because we couldn't we couldn't find the answers. So I think these are the 2 top teams all year long. Just been waiting for them to cross paths here, and it's fitting that it's in the championship game. But Grundy Center is a little more versatile, I think. But boy, West Hancock is as tough and gritty as they come. They're going to run the ball and play tough defense. But I might let you guys make the first pick here between the 2.
Jeff Linder, Grundy Center has given up 52 points all season. West Hancock, 44 points all season. So the first team to score wins, right?
Could be. I think it's going to be about a 12-8 game. I think, if you're into over-unders or something like that, I think if you took under on 20, you might be in pretty good shape. I've had Grundy Center. I started the season with Grundy Center number 1. I'll just because I'm kind of a stubborn mule, I'm going to stay with them to win it this weekend.
Grundy Center's only lost 13-10 way back in week 2 of the regular season to Tyke New Hartford, which was a semifinalist in 1A. Boy. And Grundy Center was in last year's finals, lost to Regina. I'm going to go West Hancock just to make Pilcher be the tiebreaker here.
Oh, you stink. No, now the pressure's on. See, I should pick first. Boy, I watched both of them. I was watching Grundy Center while I was writing the East Buchanan West Hancock story. Heads, we'll go with West Hancock.
All right, there we go. Class 1A at 4:00 on Thursday afternoon at the Unity Dome. West Sioux 11-1 and Van Meter 12-0. Can anybody beat Van Meter? We'll start with Jeff Linder. What's your answer?
Well, if anybody's going to do it, West Sioux would be, on the short list of teams that had a chance to do it. Van Meter's just a juggernaut. I saw them against Beckman. Beckman played very well in the second half of that game, but by then it was 28-7 at halftime, and that's how it ended up. West Sioux, they beat Dyke in overtime, right? Double overtime in the other game. Is that correct?
Yep.
So, I still like Van Meter to win it all. Probably by not quite the margin that I would have guessed earlier. Maybe, by a touchdown or 2.
KJ, does West Sioux have a chance?
I say no. I mean, you look at teams that Van Meter has beaten along the way, and they've been exactly they've been the top team all year long. Dyersville Beckman played them very well, but Van Meter has wins over Williamsburg. They have wins over Winterset. They defeated Dyersville Beckman. It was 21-point win, but I don't know if Beckman really threatened them much at all. I just think Van Meter's the best team in this class, and will be until somebody knocks them off. And I don't see that being West Sioux this week.
82 kids on the Van Meter roster for a Class 1A school. That's unbelievable to me. and it kind of
Yeah.
speaks to what's going on there at that school. And I was going to say 82 young men, but it's 82 young men and women, because Katie Lindsay is a sophomore kicker who has a 27-yard field goal and 71 extra points this season for Van Meter. So you go, Katie.
Those extra point kicks that she made in the dome, those were little dribblers that just got over the crossbar. Those kicks that she made were at the top of the goalposts. And she's got a legitimate leg. I think if they need a field goal out of her, I think she's probably good to 35 yards out.
Wow.
She's a good kicker.
And I think she's only a sophomore.
Yeah, and I was looking at her soccer stats, and she only had 2 goals last year as a freshman for the Van Meter soccer team. So, that doesn't mean anything. But boy, she's got a powerful leg. Maybe she's like a defensive player.
I'm going with Van. No, that's excellent stuff. I can't wait to see her kick tomorrow afternoon.
She does not handle the kickoffs. They've got another guy that does that, but okay. She's very accurate on her extra points.
West Sioux is kind of a junior laden team, really, guys. So I think they'll be back in this situation when you look at the quarterbacks, a junior, the running backs, a junior, the leading receiver. One of them is a junior. So I think West Sioux might get its turn next year, but I'm going with Van Meter here to complete the perfect season. Let's go then for the 7:00 game tomorrow night, Class 4A state championship. Lewis Central, Council Bluffs 10-2, Cedar Rapids Xavier 11-1. First glance, just by the record, Xavier's favored, but are they, or should they be?
I haven't seen Lewis Central play this year. Again, me being, kind of stuck in my ways. I had Lewis Central number 1 to start the season. I'm going to stick with that. Although, it sure wouldn't surprise me if Xavier would win the game. I just think Lewis Central might have a little bit more firepower.
KJ, Lewis Central's losses were to Harlan by 7 in the opener, 36-29, and then over to Indianola in week 4, 14-9. That was avenged in the quarterfinals, 35-21 win for Lewis Central over Indianola. I know we've talked kind of off the podcast, Mike and Cameron here, that you think Lewis Central will give Xavier trouble because it is a little more diverse offensively and has the ability to pass. You want to expound on that, I guess, a little bit?
Yeah, watching Braylon Comrade perform against Waverly Shell Rock. I mean, he threw for 200 yards, and a couple scores, and he was extremely accurate in that game. Of course, that's the first time I've seen him, but he's completed 62.8% of his passes for 2,300, almost 2,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. They do have the ability to run the ball. They've run for almost 2,200 yards, led by Jonathan Humple. But I just think that is where Xavier is vulnerable. I think their pass defense is, seeing them give up some big plays and, in that area. And I tell you what, this is the wrong time. Now, somebody that offset that, maybe disadvantage, if you would, it's going to be Coach O'Connell. I mean, he's going to find a way to dial up pressure or to make Lewis Central get rid of the ball quickly, so they can't run those deep patterns. But then you're going to have those people in coverage be able to make one-on-one tackles. So I think that would bode well for Xavier. But right now, I just think that might be something Lewis Central wins out on and gets revenge from a semifinal loss a handful of years ago. And I'm going to go with Lindy here, and I'm going to pick Lewis Central.
If you play the compare the scores thing, Lewis Central beat Winterset by a point, 38-37, and Xavier beat Winterset last week, 40-14. Does that mean anything? No, probably not, because these are two, I think, pretty equal teams. You look at the games, Lewis Central has given up some points, 36 to Harlan, as we mentioned in the opener, and 37 to Winterset, 21 to Indianola in the last game. Those teams, Harlan and Indianola in particular, had the ability to throw the ball on Lewis Central. So that's where Alex Neal comes into play for Xavier. He had a really good all-around game, rushing and passing in the semifinal win over Winterset. So, boy, I don't know. I just gut feeling, I think Xavier finds a way to get it done, and I think it'd be kind of kismet in a way, because I'm working on a story here. This is the 50th year of playoffs, sanctioned playoffs. And then that very first year, 1972, Cedar Rapids Jefferson was your big school champ. Iowa City Regina was a runner-up. Cedar Rapids Regis was a runner-up in Class 3A. Here, 50 years later, the successor, if you will, I guess, to Regis High School is Xavier, and here they are back in a state championship game playing a team from out west. So they didn't get it done the first time. I think they're going to get it done this time in a close game, but it's going to be fun, boys. I don't think there's any question that's going to be a pretty good high school football game on Thursday night in Class 4A. So
both teams getting what do you say for the over under 56.5
total points? Wow, that's a lot. I'll take that. It'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Holy cow, that'd be like 29-28, something like that.
I'll say 48.
48. All right. That's good. Either way, I think it's going to be a great game. And we are probably going to see some points scored. No question about that. So let's move to Friday. We have 3 games starting in Class 2A at 10 a.m. at the Dome. Southeast Valley 11-1 against West Lyon 10-2. And Lindy, I think you saw Southeast Valley. And
yeah.
Pilcher.
I saw plenty of Southeast Valley. They were good.
So did walk on.
Yeah, they walk-on's a really good team, but Southeast Valley just ran through them. And then a quarterback, Colson Cruz, I think he had over 200 yards rushing, over 200 yards passing. He was tremendous. I think he had 7 touchdowns total. They put 50 up on walk-on. West Lyon's a really good team, really good program. I just think this is Southeast Valley's year.
KJ, you saw West Lyon, correct?
Yes. West Lyon and Williamsburg put together probably one of the most entertaining games of the semifinals, as far as I'm concerned. It was one of those slugfests, really, between the two. Came down to overtime. Jackson Meyer was a big difference maker for West Lyon. Their quarterback does a little bit of everything. He had all 3 touchdowns for the Wildcats in overtime. He made a key interception on Williamsburg's possession to start the overtime, and then finished it off with a 3-yard run, I think, for the winning score. He is very very talented, strong runner, good rush attack. Hunter Jacobson runs the ball really, really well for them. I tell you what, Williamsburg, what a heck of a season that they've had. They started out 0-3. This is a team that was really inspirational, given the Tater Tough scenario. Tate Schaefer, a lot of the players were classmates and knew him. I know Jake Weber, the receiver, had over 100 receiving. Semifinal against West Lyon. Every time he scored a touchdown, he pointed up to the sky to honor him. The team honored him before the fourth quarter. And you can tell this was just a hard-nosed, tough team that gave West Lyon everything it had and just came up a little bit short. But I think, this is going to be a really good game. This is going to be tough. You got two good quarterbacks that could lead the way. Just think I'll go with Southeast Valley just because. I don't know why, but because.
I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going with Southeast Valley, though I do think it's going to be a close game, and West Lyon's ability to run the football and kind of run clock is definitely something that probably needs to be taken into consideration a little bit here. If you were curious, folks, Southeast Valley High School is located in Gowrie. So if you're as old as Lindy and I are, you might remember the old Prairie Gowrie High School. That is what Southeast Valley is, but it also has a bunch of other former school districts in there. Burnside, Southeast Webster. What's that, Lindy?
I was looking at the map on that district. I think there's 10 or 11 towns in that. Most of them are really, really small. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Southeast Webster. That's where the middle school is in Burnside. Boxholm Grand. I don't know if you remember that one, Lindy. That was a very tiny high school.
Mm-hmm.
Farnhamville would be what? Central Valley? Was that the old high school in Farnhamville?
Cedar Valley, Farnhamville.
Okay. And then Dayton. There's an elementary school in Dayton, and those who know their state basketball tournament history. Dayton had a team, really good team back in the 80s that made it to a state championship game and lost in overtime. And I can't remember who beat them.
Did Darwin beat them?
Boy, you know what? I don't remember because somebody put it on YouTube, believe it or not. The game with what, Frosty Mitchell and Mark Zelich.
Okay.
And I just remember kind of scrolling through that game, and I can't remember if it was Lone Tree maybe or somebody that
could be
that beat Dayton back in the 80s, but
that might have been about the first year that they went to 4 classes when Lone Tree went down from 1A to A, about 85 or so.
Yeah, it was right around in that. Dayton had a nice little run there, 2, 3, 4, 5 years where they had really good basketball teams. So, and again, we're dating ourselves, and Pilcher's going, you guys are so old. You guys are so old. But anyway, so that's the Southeast Valley High School. It's got a bunch, as Jeff said, a bunch of towns in it and old high schools that have kind of conglomerated into Southeast Valley. There must be a Southeast Valley somewhere in Gowrie.
I just think when these schools make a new school, let's just put Valley in it somewhere.
Exactly. But I'm going to pick the Jaguars to get it done and win their first state championship. So Class 3A, then we got a couple of undefeated teams that have looked great the entire season, including in the semifinals. 1 o'clock, Harlan 12-0, Boyden Hall, Rock Valley 12-0. Yeah, I don't know, boys. It just seems like we've kind of seen this one coming from just about week 1, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 really, really, really good teams.
Teams that combined for 87 points in the semifinals.
Wow.
Right? This is supposed to be the part of the year that's tough, and you got to grind things out. Here they outscore their opponents 87-19. Pretty impressive. I got to see the explosiveness and aggressive defense from Boyden Hall, Rock Valley. They were very impressive against Solon. Just kind of caught them with a couple big early plays, and really Solon was staggered and really couldn't kind of regain their composure after that. It was just hard to keep up after Boyden Hall, Rock Valley started rolling. Tanner Taysla or Slay, however you pronounce it, I guess it's Norwegian or whatever that.
Dutch.
Dutch.
They're all Dutch.
The Dutch, yeah. He threw for 336 yards and 4 touchdowns. All of them were big plays. Landon Van Kirkerix, did it running and catching the ball. Their defense was pretty lights out. So I like them a lot, but Harlan is Harlan. They were dominant as well Saturday night. I just think Harlan's been my top team all year long. And as much as I like Boyden Hall, Rock Valley and their ability to make big plays on both sides of the ball, I just like Harlan to come away with a title.
Tegan Kasperbauer had 338 yards rushing. Harlan pulled away from a really good Humboldt team in the semifinals. That was a 14-6 game at halftime. Harlan pulled away for what I think it was 42-13. No, 45-19, I beg your pardon. Put up a big 21-point third quarter. So, man, this is such a tough game, and I think it's going to be a great football game. I don't know. I'm just going with Harlan, and I don't know why. Because it makes sense. You can make a case for both of these teams to win this game, and it really is a kind of a quote unquote classic confrontation between two really good programs and two really good teams within those programs. So, Linda, you remember how the Harlan band always played Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yes, that was always one of the highlights of state basketball. That was terrific. They have an awesome band. Did they bring it to the Dome? Did they bring the band to the Dome?
I don't know. KJ, were you still up there when Harlan was playing?
Yeah, I was up there for a little bit, but I can't remember what was being played, and I'm musically challenged anyway, so I may not have recognized it unless it was Thriller.
I've also had Harlan number 1 on my ballot all year, so I'm going to go with Boyden Hall, Rock Valley. I just think they're playing really well right now, and this might be the game that you get 50-60 points out of from both teams combined.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that'll get us to our finale on Friday night, 7:00. It's Southeast Polk and Ankeny. These teams played in the regular season. Ankeny won. These teams played in the championship game last year. Ankeny won. I guess first of all, before we get to that game, I don't know if you guys read what City High coach Mitch Moore had to say after City High got, pretty much lambasted by Ankeny in the semifinals, which fits the pattern of the suburban Des Moines schools over their Eastern Iowa foes. Thanks to Matt Koss at the Quad City Times for figuring all this out. 5-22 Eastern Iowa schools are against their Des Moines suburban counterparts in the playoffs since City High's victory championship game in, was that 09, right, guys?
I think it was 09 or 10, one of the two.
I think it was 09, and then Dowling started its run in 2010.
Okay. But anyway,
in the finals,
he, Coach Moore had a lot of kind of pointed things to say. Bottom line, he said, is that Eastern Iowa schools need to figure out that football is as important to its schools here as it is to those schools in Central Iowa. Anybody want to, tackle what he had to say? Agree, disagree? He had a lot of other points: facilities, weight training facilities, more coaches being paid on staffs, as things that he felt are important if Eastern Iowa is ever going to close this gap. Agree, disagree? What do you think?
Well, I agree to an extent, but schools only have so much money. And, I'm not sure if schools over here have as much money as those suburban schools or not. I'm not a financial wizard, but, it costs a lot of money to build a real nice stadium. It costs a lot of money to build a really nice big weight room, and it costs a lot of money to pay 6 or 8 assistant coaches. So, it's high school football is really, really important. But as far as where that falls in the pecking order of the educational experience, I'm not sure it should be number one. Books cost money, teachers cost money, classrooms cost money. So football is very, very important, but it's still an extracurricular activity. So whether that's, raining on anybody's parade, sorry. But, right now, Central Iowa suburbia is still the hub of high school football. And, whether that means teams over here need to work harder or pay more money to catch up, I guess that's not for me to decide. But that being said, Southeast Polk just seems like a team that really kind of turns it on and off when they really need to. I got a gut feeling Ankeny's going to win it again.
KJ, what are your thoughts, and what do you got for a prediction?
Well, I'll just mention the prediction right now. I'll just go with Southeast Polk, another one of those because picks. Just that I think this was the best team all year long. Anyway, I think they kind of played to their competition a little bit, but they look good in the semifinals. I think they'll come away with a win here as well. As far as the other thing, one, I agree with Lindy. Schools that put an emphasis on athletics or more resources towards athletics than academics, that's not what it's supposed to be about. Now, we may not be talking about going that far, but I don't think it's just football either. I think there's been a shift in other sports as well, in other athletics. I mean, wrestling, I can't remember the last time a team really, really threatened for a top 2 or 3 spot in wrestling. Now that hasn't been the case for like 2A or 1A, obviously, with teams like West Delaware and Lisbon. But, you guys can correct, you guys can tell me what basketball has been like. I'm not really cued in on that. But, I think it extends beyond other sports. So, if you have the resources available, the thing that just keeps coming into my mind is, there is a difference when it comes to riches of each community. And right now, there's a lot of affluence in those communities to where they can create new schools. They have these athletic facilities that are college-like. You don't have that in Cedar Rapids right now, especially some of the things we faced in the last 15 years. The Cedar Rapids, community school district has faced a lot more challenges. The flood, even, that's been a while now, but, I don't know if Jefferson really has ever really rebounded from the way the flood displaced families and everything then. It's hard to come up with the monies to pour into something like this when you're reeling in all other areas. To be honest, Kennedy has done very well. Washington has had some moments, but there just aren't the resources. You have schools like Linn-Mar that maybe could compete in an arms race like that. I think Prairie is closer than the Cedar Rapids Community Schools. You've got Iowa City Liberty and I don't know about the Iowa City Public Schools, but there is just an imbalance of resources and affluence right now that favors those suburban Des Moines schools. They have the opportunity to do that. Now, the one thing I thought was interesting, JJ, that you mentioned yesterday in our meeting was the fact that some of those schools are starting like strength and conditioning programs, in middle school and junior high. One of the things I remember growing up and training, they kind of, hey, don't lift too hard when you're in middle school, because I think the old thought was that you could actually stunt the growth of your muscles by training it. Things have completely changed, and now it's okay. Strength and conditioning programs are a hell of a lot different now, and they're a lot more advanced. And they've kind of shattered maybe some of those old myths. And if the schools there are doing stuff like that in middle school, it's just like, youth football that are using the terminology and plays that the varsity does. And by the time they're freshmen, they can step in and bam, you're that far ahead. Same thing with strength and conditioning. If those schools are doing it, because you've seen their weight rooms, you've seen Urbandale's, that's fantastic. Valley, Northwest Waukee. If they're able to do that, that might be a big difference as well. And that's one thing that you can probably control. That's probably one thing that you can institute to make a difference and kind of catch up. Because I will say this, and you guys can disagree with me all you want from the athletes that you've seen. I'm telling you, there have been some athletes from Central Iowa that it's like night and day compared to an Eastern Iowa counterpart. I've seen it in softball sometimes, where you're looking at somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, they're the same age as this freshman. It doesn't look like it,
I've got something to add, and tell me what you guys think. You guys both grew up in the Cedar Rapids school system. I did not. And you talk about terminology and stuff like that. What would you think of kind of redoing the middle schools so that, let's take Franklin, for example. Half those kids probably more than half, I suppose, maybe 70% go to Wash, 30 to Kennedy. What if each high school had 2 feeder middle schools? These 2 middle schools are going to go to Kennedy, these 2 to Jeff, these 2 to Wash. Would that help, or is that irrelevant?
Boy, I think it could help, and I'm also not sure it would be necessary. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
I think it would help. I don't think you would necessarily need it, but yeah, I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth on that one.
I think, I don't know, my 2 cents, I think weight training, and that part of it is huge. And I don't see the Cedar Rapids schools outside, and I have to be honest, I don't know what Limar has. Prairie's got a really nice new weight training facility that is reminiscent of like what KJ said, what they have like Urbandale and what they have at some of these schools that we're speaking of in Central Iowa. I know like a Kennedy, a Washington does not have stuff like that. And to me, that's kind of the genesis of this whole thing. I don't know, guys. It's, to be able to work out, and, they say it always comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's, but, if their Jimmy's and Joe's are, physically bigger and better and faster and stronger than, your Jimmy's and Joe's, you're not going to win. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. We're sitting here talking about, how middle school and junior high strength and conditioning programs, might benefit them, that they're that far ahead of the curve when they do get to be freshmen. But then it circles back to, okay, what facilities do you have at Franklin and a McKinley? What do you have at Franklin and Harding? Or what do you have at Roosevelt and Wilson to be able to institute those new strength and conditioning programs for kids through, performance PE, right? They may not have those resources to be able to implement that stuff. So,
and at some of these, in Central Iowa suburbia, those feeder schools. I mean, I would think that a middle school kid from Johnston could probably go to the high school and lift, maybe. And because it's the same school system. So maybe that's an advantage. So I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. I just
my personal experience right now, when the girls were in 8th grade, I believe, in spring of their 8th grade year, when they would have been eligible for varsity softball in the summer, that's when they began going to Xavier to lift. Before that, what they did was they went to summer lifting camps at Jefferson with Matt Orton, who is exceptional. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's one of the tops in his field. And now that they're in high school, along with a lot of other classmates and people from other schools, they're going to a different performance center to get that specialized training. A hell of a lot different if you're able to get it in-house through your physical education, where you're doing that as part of class and wellness and fitness through the academic curriculum. It's gonna reach a lot more people. It's gonna be more inclusive because kids that may not be able to afford to go and go to these performance places and get that extra training will be able to have it in-house. And I think that makes a difference. And if the suburban schools in Des Moines, West Des Moines, are able to do that, that's going to put them ahead. It just is. And that's, but again, how do the Eastern Iowa counterparts, pull that in and make up that ground and be able to do something like that? It comes down also, is it what their vision and mission is right now? Are they more worried about, the academic side, and the stuff is pushed off to the side? I don't know.
I think, those schools out there, if they're not excellent, they can't compete. They're going to get buried by the other ones. If Urbandale is simply good at something, and they've got to go against Johnston, Southeast Polk and Valley and Dowling and Ankeny and Centennial, Waukee and all them, they just can't compete. And over here, there's just not the depth of schools and the competition. You can be good and be 3-2 over here. And if you're good over there, you're going to be 3-6.
We saw in the regular season, a couple of big wins from Eastern Iowa teams against, the Des Moines suburban schools. And we kind of wondered, all right, well, is this the shift that we've all kind of been waiting for, to a little more parity here? And it's obvious that no, it wasn't the shift. And I don't know. Bottom line, I don't see anybody in Iowa City or Cedar Rapids building a $20 million football stadium / wellness center like Southeast Polk is anytime soon. So I don't see this changing. I really don't anytime soon. And everybody can debate if that's good or bad. But I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is right now. And I had a nice talk with my boy Bingo about Southeast Polk and Ankeny. And he says Ankeny's going to win. So that's my pick. I don't know why. And I mean, if you looked at their roster guys and the guys who are starting, the quarterback, J.J. Cole, is a big-time D1 prospect, junior. I think they start 3 sophomores on the offensive line, another couple on the defensive line. So they're not going anywhere. And darn well, like in Southeast Polk, they're not going anywhere. The Proctor kid, the 5-star offensive lineman, he's coming back next year. Valley's always going to have 2,300 kids to fill out a program, and Dowling's going to be Dowling, and the 2 Waukee schools are going to be the Waukee schools, and Urbandale is going to be Urbandale. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm going with Waukee. Who did you guys say was going to win?
You're going with Ankeny, you said?
Ankeny. I'm sorry, Ankeny.
I think I went Ankeny and KJ went Southeast Polk.
Okay.
That is true.
All right. Anything else you want to add? Or since we're out of, this is it for the
football? One last thing. Let's just play, what did we, or collectively or individually, what did we get right? What did we get wrong as far as how we looked at the season going into the season? I was kind of looking back at my preseason rankings. I did a lot of things. I think I got a lot right. I got some things wrong though too. I wasn't really high enough on Xavier. I wasn't nearly high enough on Regina. I'm just trying to think who else I underrated.
Coach Alden wanted me to remind you that you picked East Buchanan like 5th in the district. So
yeah, I did. I own it. I did. I'm just kind of looking back at that stuff now, and thanks for reminding me, Coach Alden. I'm. Let's see. Where are my class A? No, I actually had them 6 out of 7. So yeah, I botched that up. I picked Bellevue to win that district. So yeah, it shows you what I don't know.
We didn't know that they had 2 guys that were so important that didn't play last year, and we're going to play this year. So
yeah, I had Kingsley Pearson ranked number 2 in 8-man to start the year. Just kind of looking through here. How about you guys? What'd you get right? What'd you screw up?
Well, just kind of looking at my preseason rankings. 2 of my top 3 teams in Class A were Logan Magnolia and Council Bluffs St. Albert. So I think that might be a little bit of a swing and a miss there. I definitely missed the boat on East Buchanan and North Lynn. Both of those teams had great seasons. I did have Lisbon pretty high up in my early rankings and Belle Plaine in there, but I certainly missed East Buck and North Lynn doing what they did this season. I had Central Lyon as my top team to come out of things. I mean, here you guys can get a good laugh out of this. Here are my top 5 preseason rankings in 2A. Central Lyon, West Marshall, Waukon, PCM, and Dubuque Wahlert. And only one of those teams seemed to make it to the Dome with walk-on. I had Solon second. I heard a lot about us versus everyone from Solon. That nobody picked them to be where they were at. My preseason rankings, I had them at second. And I know they were third. They were ranked third entering the postseason. So I'm sure where that kind of came from. But I had them second behind Harlan. And actually right in between Harlan and Boyd and Hall Rock Valley. And then I think the thing that surprised everybody was North Scott taking the early L in the postseason. But North Scott and Lewis Central were my top two teams in 4A. Maybe I had Xavier a little low, but they were still at fourth.
Still lower than most everybody else did. I wasn't very high on them at all starting the season. So if they want to say us against Linder, that's fine. If it was them against me, they would win.
I undervalued Lindmar. Be the first to admit.
Yep. I'll jump in your sidecar on that one too.
Yeah, Lovell did a great job. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
That's the one where if City High wants to kick me around, they can, because I deserve it. It took me a while to really jump on board City High, and it turns out they were the best team in the area in 5A. Sorry, 5A.
Yeah, the schedule they played was not strong. So you always kind of wondered how legit, City High really was. But yeah, they were terrific football team. The best around here. Proved it with the big win over Kennedy. Kind of overvalued Washington, thinking to drop from 5A or, the biggest class to the next biggest class would be a huge boom, right? And
I think we had them at 3 or 4 to start the season in 4A.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good football in 4A, boys. And they were in a very, very good district. No question about that.
Yeah,
so
I had them at 8th, but they're also the third team in that district that I had listed, because I had Xavier at 4th, Pella at 7th, and then Washington. So really tough district, but yeah.
Clear Creek and Manna. That was another team that
wasn't bad.
Yeah. These predictions, man, we just show what we don't know. So I don't know why we keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Well, it's for other people to enjoy and talk amongst themselves. Oh, Beckman was another one.
Yep.
That it took a little while for me to catch on.
All right. Shall we call it a season? If you're going up to Cedar Falls tomorrow or Friday, safe travels. KJ and I'll be
one quick thing.
Yeah.
One quick thing that I wanted to ask both of you. The extra class. Just a sentence or two on how you thought that all played out.
Like it. Lindy?
Not as big a fan. I like the smaller numbers in 5A. I like that they're down to 36. I might even go to 32. I don't know if I'm a fan of 36 in 4A and 3A. I think maybe we could jump that to 48 and squeeze one class away, but it's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I think the association's trying to get more equitable, equitable classes. If they want to, maybe they need to consider, the free and reduced lunch, even if it's just for the big school class, because there's still some schools in that class that shouldn't be there. And after what we're saying, maybe that class should just be 8 or 10 schools from Central Iowa. I don't know. And I'm kidding, kind of, but not totally. So it's fine. I think the not doing the same playoff having eight games for the smaller classes and 9 for the bigger. I didn't mind that. I think an 8-game regular season for 2A on down and getting 32 teams in, I think that was fine. How do you guys feel?
I mean, and those teams that didn't make the playoffs could still play a Week 9 game against similar clubs, and I thought that was great because a lot of them took advantage of that. Put that, okay, our regular season is over per se. We didn't make the playoffs, but we're still going to play one more game against somebody that's very similar to us as far as ability and things like that. So I like that part of it. So I like that they're trying to find the perfect formula here and that they're amenable to it. Flexibility, right, guys? Maybe, I don't know. So, and I'm going to throw this out here and, we won't talk about it necessarily, but don't be surprised if someday that you don't see the semifinals in the Unidome, and that's all I'm going to say. So
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Correct. And
games in the Unidome in the semifinals.
Maybe Drake Stadium, Jeff. Get a hold of your alma mater, man. Semifinals at Drake Stadium.
I've heard there's a possibility that they might, do double headers at bigger stadiums, at Kingston, at Drake, at some of those other places, and it sounds like there's some ideas on the table, and we'll see. It's always an evolving thing.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody with any other closing thoughts? Good podcast, boys. Good podcast.
You guys both going to the Dome on Thursday, right?
Yeah, for sure. For Xavier, and I'm working on a story here that hopefully I'll get written soon on the 1972 finals and specifically Regis as it plays into Xavier being in the finals here 50 years later. So, yeah, KJ and I will both be up there, and he's going to do all the heavy lifting with the game story and everything. I'm just going to kind of sit back and taunt him. So
I need a Pancheros burrito.
Oh,
right?
There we go. Nathan, thanks, man. He was very quiet this season. We let him out of his little cage there once, and we couldn't get him to stop talking. He was so good. So, but anyway, Jeff, KJ, thank you. Nathan, thank you. Folks, thank you for watching us. It was a fun season. It went by quick. Winter Sports are here. Thanks for watching, and Prep Huddle, Prep Football Podcast. And one last time this season, KJ, take us out.
And say also watch for our all area teams, coach and player of the year in early December. And remember, keep your head on swivel.